morning. Today's the 4th of July, Independence Day for America. And I want to do a different kind of video today. I want to do kind of a tribute, but not to the 4th of July or America per se. These holidays have not been very exciting to me for many years now. Speaking of American holidays, traditional American holidays here, they seem to fall into a couple categories. They're either over-commercialized now, or they rely on unexamined myths, unexamined mythology. To borrow a quote from James Baldwin, what passes for identity in America is a series of myths about our heroic ancestors. So the 4th of July being the ultimate American holiday, it's kind of the ultimate embodiment of that quote. There will be much fireworking today, and probably the rest of the weekend, because that's what we do. That's what we always have done. But unexamined traditions can be dangerous as well. So, if you're celebrating America today, I beg of you to hold it accountable to its ideals tomorrow and beyond that. Today, on this day, Independence Day, there are tens of thousands of people being held in cages at our border for no crime other than being born in the wrong country and being born brown. On this day, this Independence Day, remember that this country was founded and developed on the backs of slaves, and that our founding fathers accepted and supported this, and many of them owned slaves themselves. I could go on about the list of atrocities this land of contradictions has committed, but I would rather get to my tribute. I'd rather offer a tribute to who and what came before, to Native America in all of its beauty, generosity, and reciprocity. Before the United States and before Columbus, these two continents were a literal Garden of Eden, carefully tended by many peoples, all connected by their obligation and commitment to receive the gifts of the earth and give their own gifts back. The country we celebrate today destroyed Eden and killed most of its gardeners. Today, I'd like to honor those gardeners, past, present, and future, who understand and are thankful for the gifts this planet provides all of us, if we are willing to listen and learn from all of the non-humans in this world. I've been reading this book, Braiding Sweetgrass, by Robin Wall Kimmerer. The subtitle is Indigenous Wisdom, Scientific Knowledge, and the Teachings of Plants. It's a wonderful, beautiful, should be a manual for our restored living with the earth. So I want to read some excerpts out of it from the chapter about the Three Sisters planting, which is partially what inspired me to try it here. It should be them who tell the story. Corn leaves rustle with a signature sound, a papery conversation with each other in the breeze. On a hot day in July, when the corn can grow 6 inches in a single day, there is a squeak of internodes expanding, stretching the stem toward the light. Leaves escape their sheaths with a drawn-out creak, and sometimes, when all is still, you can hear the sudden pop of ruptured pith when water-filled cells become too large and turgid for the confines of the stem. These are the sounds of being, but they are not the voice. The beans must make a caressing sound, a tiny hiss, as a soft-haired leader twines around the scabrous stem of corn. Surfaces vibrate delicately against each other. Tendrils pulse as they cinch around the stem. Something only a nearby flea beetle could hear. But this is not the song of the beans. I've lain among ripening pumpkins and heard creaking as the parasol leaves rock back and forth, tethered by their tendrils, wind lifting their edges and easing them down again. A microphone in the hollow of a swelling pumpkin would reveal the pop of seeds expanding and the rush of water filling succulent orange flesh. These are sounds, but not the story. Plants tell their stories not by what they say, but by what they do. What if you were a teacher but had no voice to speak your knowledge? What if you had no language at all, and yet there was something you needed to say? Wouldn't you dance it? Wouldn't you act it out? Wouldn't your every movement tell the story? In time you would become so eloquent that just to gaze upon you would reveal it all. And so it is with these silent green lives. A sculpture is just a piece of rock with topography hammered out and chiseled in, but that piece of rock can open your heart in a way that makes you different for having seen it. It brings its message without a single word. Not everyone will get it, though. The language of stone is difficult. Rock mumbles. But plants speak in a tongue that every breathing thing can understand. Plants teach in a universal language. Food. For millennia, from Mexico to Montana, women have mounded up the earth and laid these 3 seeds in the ground, all in the same square foot of soil. When the colonists on the Massachusetts shore first saw indigenous gardens, they inferred that the savages did not know how to farm. To their minds, a garden meant straight rows of single species, not a 3-dimensional sprawl of abundance. And yet they ate their fill and asked for more, and more again. Once planted in the May-moist earth, the corn seeds takes on water quickly. Its seed coat's thin and its starchy contents, the endosperm, drawing water to it. The moisture triggers enzymes under the skin that cleave the starch into sugars, fueling the growth of the corn embryo that is nestled in the point of the seed. Thus corn is the first to emerge from the ground, a slender white spike that greens within hours of finding the light. A single leaf unfurls, and then another. Corn is all alone at first, while the others are getting ready. Drinking in soil water, the bean seed swells and bursts its speckled coat and sends a rootling deep down into the ground. Only after the root is secured does the stem bend to the shape of a hook and elbow its way above ground. Beans can take their time finding the light because they are well provisioned. Their first leaves were already packaged in the 2 halves of the bean seed. This pair of fleshy leaves now breaks the soil surface to join the corn, which is already 6 inches tall. Pumpkins and squash take their time. They are the slow sister. It may be weeks before the first stems poke up, still caught in their seed coat until the leaves split its stem seams and break free. But each plant has its own pace, and the sequence of their germination, their birth order, is important to their relationship to the success of the crop. The corn is the firstborn and grows straight and stiff. It is a stem with a lofty goal, laddering upward leaf by long ribbed leaf, It must grow tall quickly. Making a strong stem is its highest priority at first. It needs to be there for its younger sister, the bean. Beans put out a pair of heart-shaped leaves on just a stub of stem, and then another pair, and another, all low to the ground. The bean focuses on leaf growth, while the corn concentrates on height. Just about the time that the corn is knee-height, the bean changes its mind, as middle children are wont to do. Instead of making leaves, it extends itself into a long vine, a slender, green string with a mission. In this teenage phase, hormones set the shoot tip to wandering, inscribing a circle in the air, a process known as circumnutation. The tip can travel a meter in a day, pirouetting in a loopy circle dance until it finds what it's looking for, a corn stem or some other vertical support. Touch receptors along the vine guide it to wrap itself around the corn in a graceful upward spiral. For now, it holds back on making leaves, giving itself over to embracing the corn, keeping pace with its height growth. Had the corn not started early, the bean vine would strangle it. But if the timing is right, the corn can easily carry the bean. Meanwhile, the squash, the late bloomer of the family, is steadily extending herself over the ground, moving away from the corn and beans, setting up broad-lobed leaves like a stand of umbrellas waving at the ends of hollow petioles. The leaves and vines are distinctly bristly, giving second thought to nibbling caterpillars. As the leaves grow wider, they shelter the soil at the base of the corn and beans, keeping moisture in and other plants out. Native people speak of this gardening style as the Three Sisters. There are many stories of how this came to be, but they all share the understanding of these plants as women, sisters. Some stories tell of a long winter when the people were dropping from hunger. 3 beautiful women came to their dwellings on a snowy night. One was a tall woman, dressed in yellow with long flowing hair. The second wore green, and the third was robed in orange. The 3 came inside to shelter by the fire. Food was scarce, but the visiting strangers were fed generously, sharing in what little the people had left. In gratitude for their generosity, the 3 sisters revealed their true identities, corn, beans, and squash, and gave themselves to the people in a bundle of seeds so that they might never go hungry again. At the height of the summer, when the days are long and bright, and the thunderers come to soak the ground, the lessons of reciprocity are written clearly in the 3 sisters' garden. Together their stems inscribe what looked to me like a blueprint for the world, a map of balance and harmony. The corn stands 8 feet tall, rippling green ribbons of leaf curl away from the stem in every direction to catch the sun. No leaf sits directly over the next, so that each can gather light without shading the others. The bean twines around the corn stalk, weaving itself between the leaves of corn, never interfering with their work. In the spaces where corn leaves are not, buds appear on the vining bean and expand into outstretched leaves and clusters of fragrant flowers. The bean leaves droop and are held close to the stem of the corn. Spreading around the feet of the corn and beans is a carpet of big, broad squash leaves that intercept the light that falls among the pillars of corn. Their layered spacing uses the light, a gift from the sun, efficiently, with no waste. The organic symmetry of forms belongs together. The placement of every leaf, the harmony of shapes speak their message. Respect one another, support one another, bring your gift to the world, and receive the gifts of others, and there will be enough for all. By late summer, the beans hang in heavy clusters of smooth green pods. Ears of corn angle out from the stalk, fattening in the sunshine, and pumpkins swell at your feet. Acre for acre, a 3 sisters garden yields more food than if you grew each of the sisters alone. Without the corn support, the beans would be an unruly tangle on the ground, vulnerable to bean-hungry predators. It might seem as if she's taking a free ride in this garden, benefiting from the corn's height and the squash's shade. But by the rules of reciprocity, none can take more than she gives. The corn takes care of making light available. The squash reduces weeds. What about the beans? To see her gift, you have to look underground. The sisters cooperate above ground with the placement of their leaves, carefully avoiding one another's space. The same is true below ground. Corn is classified as a monocot, basically an overgrown grass, so its roots are fine and fibrous. With the soil shaken off, they look like a stringy mop head at the end of a corn stalk handle. They don't go very deep at all. Instead, they make a shallow network, calling first dibs on incoming rain. After they've had their drink, the water descends out of reach of the corn roots. As the water goes deeper, the deep taproots of the bean are poised there to absorb it. The squash finds its share by moving away from the others. Wherever squash stem touches soil, it can put out a tuft of adventitious roots, collecting water far from the corn and bean roots. They share the soil by the same techniques that they share the light, leaving enough for everyone. But there is one thing they all need that is always in short supply: nitrogen. Beans are members of the legume family, which has the remarkable ability to take nitrogen from the atmosphere and turn it into usable nutrients. There are layers upon layers of reciprocity in this garden. Between the bean and the bacterium, the bean and the corn and the squash, and ultimately with the people. It's tempting to imagine that these three are deliberate and working together, and perhaps they are. But the beauty of this partnership is that each plant does what it does in order to increase its own growth. But as it happens, when the individuals flourish, so does the whole. The way of the three sisters reminds me of one of the basic teachings of our people. The most important thing each of us can know is our unique gift and how to use it in the world. Individuality is cherished and nurtured because, in order for the whole to flourish, each of us has to be strong in who we are and carry our own gifts with conviction so that they can be shared with others. Being among the three sisters provides a visible manifestation of what a community can become when its members understand and share their gifts. In reciprocity, we fill our spirits as well as our bellies. Thanks for listening. I wish you a good day, however you're going to spend it.